And Mr. Markowitz does proclaim this, the Friendly Sons of St. Patrick's 149th anniversary and dinner celebration in Brooklyn. Thank you. We will be dining up in the courthouse, which is up the stairs to your right. The call that breaks at night, its tale of ruin tells. The freedom now so seldom waits, the only throb she is when some heart indignant breaks to show that still she lives. Thank you.
That is a great song.
We're now looking for volunteers for anyone who thinks they want to follow that.
I wanted to ask you, Bishop, a little bit about your early life. You're a native Brooklynite, from what you first called Bay Ridge, then called Dyker Heights, and you came from a very large Brooklyn Irish family, did you not?
Yes.
And
There were 11.
you're supposed to, not one word answer.
There were 11 kids, 8 boys, 3 girls.
Confirmations, I give out New Testaments to kids at confirmation. I said, because this is, you want to know who he is? Read this book. Think over it, pray over it. But I mean, for my money, you know, I don't want to be naive and think that these kids all can't wait to get home and read it. But you know, the problem is, I'm hoping their parents get the message. You know?
So last month we had Bishop Sullivan to talk about the impact that the Irish had in life in Brooklyn and the Catholic Church. Tonight we are so pleased to have our native son, our own Park Slope, Pete Hamill, and I'd ask you all to give a warm welcome to both our moderator, Robert Murphy, and to Pete Hamill.
You're writing an album now, did you finish it?
It's finished except for some polishing, you know, where I go through. What happens is, I went to a Jesuit high school called Regis for a couple of years.
That was not an easy place to get into. I don't think you had to be
It was
thrilled.
easier to get out of. So I dropped out after 2 years, and I should make this announcement right. June the 26th, they are giving me my diploma. 59 years after I dropped out.
Some other events that we're sponsoring, in particular, we've got, I was just mentioning this to Mr. Hamill, we've got a directed reading of Ulysses that has started last week. It continues for the next 4 weeks, and it culminates in the inaugural Bloomsday celebration in Brooklyn. If you can believe this, there is yet to be a Bloomsday celebration in Brooklyn after all these years. But the Friendly Sons are inaugurating that this year on Saturday, June the 12th. And we ask you all to join us. This is open to the public. You pay your own way at the various establishments we'll be visiting. It's going to be along the Fifth Avenue corridor, starting at the Black Sheep at the corner of 5th Avenue and Bergen Street. In the afternoon, we've got music, we've got readings. Declan Walsh and John Burns and I are organizing this, and it's turning out to be a fabulous event. So
this is actually a momentous day. We had the whole reason behind this day was that we were able to have the reincarnation of Leopold Bloom actually perform for us.
Wow.
Before we do that, as a recognition of the contribution that the Friendly Sons of St. Patrick have made to this event, and I'd like to point out Jim Ryan, who's one of the instigators, Declan Walsh, who's another one of the instigators, and my fellow friendlies. I would like all of you to turn to the back of the program. The back of the program is a poem written by Flann O'Brien, who was one of Ireland's great writers. But not only that, if he's only remembered for being one of Ireland's great writers, he was also the man who invented the walk through Dublin on Bloomsday, 50 years to the date, and I guess it was 1954.
There was a Christmas rare, all a rattling hole in a bog down in the valley, oh, roll the rattling bog down in the valley, oh, roll the rattling bog down in the valley.
Right next to a Cypress.
The Cypress, excuse me.
You're at Bloomsday, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Let's hear for Brooklyn. How did it take this long for Brooklyn to have its own Bloomsday? That's a crime. But that's over now. So we are now going to do an episode, section from episode 12, The Cyclops. This takes place in Barney Kiernan's pub about 5 p.m. There are 3 characters in today's, in this episode we're going to be focusing on now. The narrator, this is the first episode that Joyce introduces a third-person narrator. Doesn't tell us his name, but we know that this is Joyce's father who's narrating this whole episode. Declan Walsh will be playing the role of the narrator. Let's hear it for Declan.
Wait till after.
The 2 characters that are introduced in this episode, the first is, ironically, Joe Hines. Our own Joe Hines, district attorney, will be playing the role of Joe Hines. Joe Hines is a reporter for a newspaper. He seldom buys a drink for anyone. The narrator is perplexed about this and thinks this is a wondrous day that Joe Hines is in fact standing everybody to a drink, so that you'll hear that if you listen attentively. And the third character is the citizen. The citizen is modeled after Michael Cusack, who at the turn of the last century founded the Gaelic Athletic Association in Dublin, which was to reinvigorate Irish sports, hurling and the like, as opposed to the British sports that were foisted upon the Irish. Michael Cusack is referred to as the citizen. Michael Cusack tends to hang out in pubs and waits for people to come and adore him and buy him pints, and that's what he'll be doing in this scene as well. Michael Cusack will be played by the Honorable Judge Bernard Graham. Bernie Graham, a member of the Friendly Sons of St. Patrick. This takes place at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, so we're a few hours early. So, with that,
it's time to meet Mr. Leopold Bloom, finally. I'm just going to give you some details. All of you may not have read the book. Okay, hands up. No. He's a 38-year-old ad space salesman working for a Dublin paper. He's married to Marion Bloom, or Molly as we know her, a singer. They have a teenage daughter. They have a teenage daughter, Millie, who is living in Mullingar. They had a son, Rudy, who died, and he was 11 days old when he died. Since then, yeah, okay. Since then, did you all hear that? I'm going to be asking questions now in a minute. Bloom is descended on his father's side of the family from Hungarian Jews. His mother was Protestant, so Bloom, an only child, was baptized Protestant and eventually became a Catholic to marry Molly. So he is part of all three religions, but he doesn't really belong to any of them. He is, in other words, an outsider, and we are introduced to him in his kitchen, in his home. And Matt Harris is going to read, and he's not only a Hungarian Jew himself, but, believe it or not, he was born on June 16th.
Hi guys.
Hey, we need Joe. He needs some help.
What we got? Tape? Staple gun? Tape?
Do we have a level?
Yeah, let's
Sailing from the south with their messenger, yelling for the dawn on a free. Cuddly news, shivering, heels the floor. Cuddly news, and you hear Barney Man. For the boys marching on from the south to the north. My Caddy, the boy from the
Gertie McDowell was tight boots. No. She's lame. Oh, Jesus. Oh, Mr. Bloom watched her as she limped away. Ah, poor girl. Why, that's why she's left on the shelf with all the others did a sprint. Thought there was something wrong with the cut of her jibe. Jilted beauty. A defect is 10 times worse than a woman. What makes them polite? That I didn't know when she was on show. Hot little devil all the same.
Sections in this book about Dublin and about Joyce's incredible nostalgic feeling for the city. I don't know how he lived away from the city for so long, but he loved obviously so much. And this is Mr. Bloom and Lawrence here is going to read.
His smile faded as he walked, a heavy cloud hiding the sun slowly.
Here he is, Gary. There's our bus. There it is, our limousine. Okay, there he is, Max.
There he is. In the limo, going to Rocky Sullivan's.
Okay, we have arrived right at the waterfront of Brooklyn.
We got in St. Louis.
Rocky Sullivan's.
And the glorious sunsets in Gibraltar as a girl, where I was a flower of the mountain, yes, and I put the rose in my hair. Shall I wear red, yes, and how he kissed me under the Moorish wall. as well him as another. And then I asked him with my eyes to ask again, yes. And then he asked me, would I, yes, to say yes, my mountain flower. And first, they put my arms around me, yes, and drew him down to me, so he could feel my breasts, all perfume, yes, and his heart was going like mad. And yes, I said, yes, I will, yes.
On that note, we end.
And then there's Mick Maloney. And the reason Mick Maloney is on so many CDs that I have in my collection is that A, he either produced it, or he played on it, or more than likely, he did both. Mick Maloney is a prolific supporter of young Irish musicians and seeing to it that they get the opportunity to play in venues and also that they get the opportunity to record their music. And he's been responsible for so many I couldn't begin to tell you, so I won't even start. But in addition to that, Mick is an educator. He's currently a professor at New York University, involved in Irish music and Irish studies. And he is our guest speaker tonight, and I hope we can give him a warm welcome. Mick Maloney.
I want that man to speak at my funeral. I hope you enjoyed that statement. It's just fantastic footage, especially the home footage of the Glynn family. And you know, this is a wondrous story. It's an epic story. That this music, basically, it wouldn't have existed had we not been colonized, in a sense. I mean, we can thank the Brits for something. Because it was shut down at the end of Europe, the edge of the earth, basically, and allowed to grow and to flourish, you know, because nobody cared about it. And the thing is, one of the reasons that we have this music is because we're potato diggers. And did any ever grow spuds? No. I was a spud person in my family, I tell you. I don't want to see spuds anywhere but in supermarkets right now, ever again. But the thing is, you work very hard for a few months, and then you start to wait for the spuds to come up, and then you work hard again harvesting them. But you have a lot of leisure time, and if you have a tradition of artistry, which of course we have going back to the Celts, you know, you need time to develop art. And what did we do with our spare time? We created some of the best music in the world. Thanks for inviting me along. If there's any questions, I'll be delighted to answer them.
We're here to have our most recent, so this is the December meeting of the Friendly Sons, with our Friendly to the fourth, with our own Charlie Rose, Robin Murphy, to interview Brian O'Dwyer, who is the scion of the O'Dwyer family, which has their political roots here in Brooklyn. To talk about the Irish in Brooklyn politics.
McKee was having none of this, and so the district leader of Coney Island, which Coney Island is our family, as you know.
I think it was Bay Ridge. I didn't realize.
No, well, you know, that's Bill was the judge out in Coney Island for all those years. He lived in Bay Ridge, but Coney Island really is his base. came to him and said, would you put your name on it? He said, I would. And then he became the magistrate, which of course was the lowest of all the judges. And he became the magistrate on the basis of that split, right? And in fact, there's some people that said that his appointment led to the split because the Democratic leader and the mayor, who's got split, and in the next election, there were two candidates running on the Democratic line, and Guardi became the mayor. It was all because of that.
Fusion candidate.
Because of the split in the Democratic Party. And of course, LaGuardia became mayor for 12 years. My uncle, I don't know if you knew this, my uncle was the magistrate on Coney Island. And he was the first judge to dismiss an action against someone who went topless on Coney Island. A man.
But I want to congratulate you on a lovely talk this evening, and I'm very glad to say that I think you're carrying on your father and your uncle's tradition here in New York. I can't myself think of a better spokesman for our community.
Okay, it is January 5th, 2011, the last Friendly's Chat during its 150th year, and Evan Brooks is trying to get the crowd's attention. Mr. Joe Hines, right here.
Well, let's trace that a little bit. You went to work as a legal aid attorney as a young man.
That was my epiphany. I was at this law firm, very, very nice people, and a friend of mine from law school called me one day and said there was an opening in the Legal Aid Society in the criminal. I had no interest in the criminal side. So I applied for the legal aid civil side, and Ed Carr was the president. And said, look, we'd like to hire, we have no space in civil, come to criminal, and in a couple of months we'll switch you over. And when I say I had an epiphany, it was literally true. When I walked into 107th Street that first day and went into the courtroom, I was home. And everything flowed, and I was trying more cases than you can imagine, and in those days, of course, we had no jury trials for misdemeanors. So, when I get together with some of the old ball players of legal aid in that era, someone would say, did we really try 5 cases a day? So sometimes it was 7, because the case was called, and the judge would say, legal aid ready, DA ready, I'd go try a case. Now, it wasn't very good for our clients, I must say. But in 8 months, I had tried just hundreds of cases. And I was promoted to the Supreme Court, where I tried felony cases at the end of the 8-month period, and stayed there until the end of 2 years, and then I went to private practice. It was a great experience. We had terrific trial lawyers, really energized. You got to know more about the sense of justice, and I can't imagine where I did the same kind of education.
Dinner?
Yes.
Thank you.